If you'll permit me, I'd like to make a comment which in my mind is indicative, perhaps, of the greater significance of football and sports emphasis in general in this country. And that is, I thank God I was warring on the gridirons of the Midwest and not on the battlefields of Europe. I can speak confidently and positively that the players of this country would much rather struggle and fight to win the Heisman Award than the Croaks de Guerre. According to ESPN Classic, this is Nile Kinnick's legendary speech that he gave after being awarded the Heisman after his 1939 football season for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Nile Kinnick was a very decorated player in 1939, and during the season of his successes, he sent and received a large amount of letters to and from his family. Today, I will discuss the rhetorical appeals that Nile Kinnick uses in a letter written to his mother, especially focusing on his love and respect for her, as well as the historical background of his letter that will allow for a deeper understanding of what Nile Kinnick was thinking. There are many emotional appeals in this letter, but in order to better understand the emotional appeals, we must first look at the history of Nile Kinnick and his football team as the letter was written right in the middle of his season. The Iowa Hawkeye 1939 football season was a successful one. The team, known as the 1939 Ironmen, had 6 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. David Meyer of Hawkeye Sports states that the Ironmen were one of the most influential teams in the Iowa football history. They helped shape the football program's identity and exemplified the strong work ethic that is a defining characteristic of the state of Iowa and its people. Not only did this team have an extraordinary season, but one of Iowa's most successful football players came from this team. Nile Kinnick was involved in 107 of the Hawkeyes' 130 points that season and would play nearly all of the games. He received multiple awards that year, including the Heisman Award, All-Big Ten Team, Iowa's and Big Ten's Most Valuable Player, and numerous All-American teams. This information was also from Hawkeye Sports. He was the captain of the football team and a leader on the field. Not only was Nile Kinnick a hero on the field, but he was a hero off the field as well. He focused on his schoolwork as much as football. According to the University of Iowa Library, Kinnick had a 3.4 GPA average, was a member of Pi Beta Kappa, and was the senior class president. His focus on education while achieving these milestones in both sports and academics prove that we can all strive for more as students and should never allow ourselves to give up because we feel we are too busy. Also, according to the University of Iowa Library, after his college career, he passed up a career in the National Football League to attend law school at the University of Iowa. In 1941, he joined the Naval Air Corps Reserve, and while waiting for active duty, he was an assistant coach for Iowa. He reported for duty on December 4th for World War II. Sadly, he was killed in battle in 1943, only 4 years after his letter was written, and 4 years after being declared the most promising college football player in the country. During his time in college, he wrote numerous letters to his family and friends. The letter from Nile Kinnick, written to his mother on October 8, 1939, was after a 32-29 victory over the Indiana Hoosiers. Kinnick was a part of all 5 touchdowns during the win and played all 60 minutes. The Hawkeyes held the Hoosiers to 0 points in the fourth quarter. All of those stats were according to Wikipedia. He wrote the letter to his mother, Frances Clark Kinnick, on the Sunday after the game. He mentions that his father, Nile Kinnick Sr., and his 2 brothers, Ben and George, attended his game that Saturday afternoon, but his mother had to stay back in order to work. Having established the history behind the significance of the year 1939 in the life of Nile Kinnick, let's get to know Kinnick better by looking at the emotional appeals he uses while writing to his mother. In the letter that Nile Kinnick writes to his mother on October 8, 1939, he appeals emotionally to her by expressing his love and respect. He starts his letter by saying that he is terribly ashamed that he has not written to her sooner, and goes on to say that he hopes that his father speaks of the love that he sends his mother. It is clear that he cares a lot for his mother, and he is constantly making sure that she knows why he has not been able to talk to her. He speaks very highly of his mother's lovely duty that she performs each Sunday. This displays his great respect for his mother by acknowledging her hard work and what she has been doing. He is persistent in telling her she should not feel bad about her absences to the game, but instead speaks in detail about how great his game was and that he is not afraid of the future. This is another way he appeals to his mother's emotions. He appeals to her emotionally by explaining that he is having a very successful season and that she should not have to worry about him. He talks about how things are going along very well and that he is not afraid of the future. Saying that he has no fear for the future demonstrates to his mother that he is doing a great job at college and that he is fine on his own. He then talks about the game that he had just played and the games that his team will play in the coming weeks. He is positive about the games and seems to have confidence in his team. He describes his nice Saturday and talks about his date that he goes on and his day with his father and brothers. Knowing that he is having a successful season and a fun time in college brings comfort to his mother. In addition to demonstrating respect for his mother and easing her fears, Kinnick also appeals to his mother's sympathy, although it is not as evident as the others, and he does seem to be rather positive in most of the letter. He does explain that he is feeling pretty good today, but then goes on to say but tired and a claim of a cold. He asks for her to help him rest in right activity and run and not be tired. He explains that he believes he will be in there pitching the whole route most of the time, making it sound as though he will be doing all the work. At the end of the letter, he tells her that he enjoys the sentinels that she sends him and asks if she will send one every laundry. By ending with this statement, it shows that although he is having an enjoyable time at college and he has been successful in football and academics, he will always need his mother and appreciates everything she does for him. I found it interesting to try to dissect the mind of one of the University of Iowa's greatest football players, and the player our football stadium is currently named after. The letter demonstrates with rhetorical appeals to emotions such as easing her fear and showing love, that Kinnick has the utmost respect for his mother and loves her dearly. Also peeking into the historical background of the letter led us to understand even more of what Kinnick's mindset was at the time.